Pokket here, bringing you another guide to SWTOR. Now this time I'm going to cover the first boss in Nightmare Eternity Vault. Now, as most of you should probably know if you play SWTOR, Eternity Vault is a raid in SWTOR. It's actually the first one put into the game. The first thing to note about ops groups is that there are 3 different difficulty modes that your team can choose to fight on: normal mode, hard mode, and nightmare mode. Normal mode is fairly easy and can be beat by a raid of people who just hit 50 and have minimal end-game gear, though it still requires a certain amount of coordination in each fight. Hard mode has a higher gear requirement as the bosses often hit harder and have more health, plus the trash mobs are a bit more difficult to defeat. And Nightmare mode is even harder due to the same reasons as hard mode. The gear is a bit more demanding on Nightmare, but as far as the raid bosses go, there are no new mechanics to look out for. The footage in this guide will be from Nightmare mode, but can be carried over to the other 2 modes of difficulty. So let's begin with the first boss, Annihilation Droid XRR-3. Before the first boss appears, there are 2 turrets that your group must defeat. It's optimal to have 2 tanks on each turret, but a DPS that can blow cooldowns will work as well. These turrets are not CCable, but they can be taunted. Healers need to wait for the tanks to grab aggro on the turrets before they start healing, because the turrets can wipe them out pretty quickly. DPS need to take down the adds that spawn, then switch to one of the turrets, take it down, kill the adds again, then switch to the next turret. Adds will spawn periodically throughout this fight. While both turrets are still up, if the adds aren't focused down, your group may become overwhelmed, and they might start getting picked off by the adds. However, once a turret has been dropped, the tank can take control till the second turret is down. And after both turrets are down, the Annihilation Droid will spawn. This boss is stationary, so he won't move around the platform throughout the fight. Have the tank grab aggro of the boss and turn him around towards the door and away from the raid. Then have the melee stand behind him. Ranged and healers should either stand on the left or right of him near one of the pillars and spread out. There are quite a few abilities worth noting on this boss. The first is his missile strike. He'll put a sniper-like red visual on a player, letting them know that they are about to get attacked. Upon impact, it'll deal splash damage to the targeted player, as well as to anyone nearby. The dot that gets left on the player can be cleansed off. The player just needs to make sure they are not located near others when the hit lands. Putting a shield on the player being targeted helps mitigate quite a bit of damage as well. The next 3 abilities come in succession of one another. The first one, he will put an AoE stun on anyone within melee range around him, with his ability called Concussive Stomp. You can tell when he's about to do this because he will say, "Proximity violation." Usually melee are unable to avoid getting hit with this, but typically it's not a problem to heal through. After a few seconds of being stunned, the Annihilation Droid will use Overwhelming Strike, which will deal damage and knock the melee back quite a distance. And the last ability he'll use in this 3-part attack is Missile Barrage. He'll say the line, "I have been armed with 24 distinct weapons technologies," then hunch down and start doing damage to anyone within line of sight of him. At this point, your group can either huddle behind one of the turrets or group up in front of him and heal through it. For us, grouping up and healing was our best option. Otherwise, beating the enrage timer proved to be a problem. However, if your healers are having trouble keeping members alive, line of sighting, healing up, and then having ranged DPS jump out and hit him while the healers focus heal the ranged also works. The last noteworthy ability is when he'll start to use Storm Protocol around 50% health. He will actually say, "Enemy tactics analyzed. Engaging Storm Protocols." At this point, red reticles will appear under players' feet, and as you probably guessed, you need to move out of these in order to avoid taking damage. This is pretty easy for ranged, since they are already spread out, but for melee this can be quite tricky due to how close everyone is together. Moving out of these reticles only requires that a player moves slightly left or slightly right of it, not that they run around the whole platform, so keep this in mind. While getting hit by 1 or 2 of these is okay, getting hit by more than that may lead to some unnecessary deaths in the group. And at 10%, note that the boss will only use Missile Barrage, his AoE damage ability, until he has been burned down. This, like any other AoE burn phase, helps if players group up in front of him. Healers AoE heal, while DPS basically burn everything they have. So I hope this guide helped you out. I will be covering the rest of the bosses in this raid, and I will say that while most of them, they didn't give us too much difficulty, SWTOR is a beast, and he's the last boss. So I can't wait to finish the rest of these and get them out to you as soon as possible. As always, you can follow me on Twitter, and you can find me on Twitch TV, where I do stream Monday through Friday various games including Star Wars. Now head on over to MMORPG to get more guides, gameplay reviews, and other things.